Hi everyone, my name is Mackenzie, and I, over the next 15 minutes, am very excited to get to take you guys on a wonderful little adventure that was, in essence, my honeymoon. So to start off, I'll just tell you a little bit about what my husband and I decided to do when we wanted to take our honeymoon. We didn't want to do the normal go to a beach, lay in the sun kind of a thing. What we wanted to do was really dig into things that we love, and one of the things that I love is food. And one of the things that he loves is whiskey. So we picked two destinations that were close enough together that we could get them into our lovely little honeymoon jaunt that we did for 3 weeks. And we also picked locations that were in Europe because that was very important to us to be in Europe. So I picked Spain. The reason I picked Spain, as I said prior, is because I love food, and more than anything, I love tapas. It's a huge part of life for me. I love eating small plates. I love eating lots of different little things in one night. And so the idea of tapas, going from bar to bar to bar, picking out different things, getting to eat bite after bite, and kind of just working your way through an evening is extremely tempting to me. Plus, everyone I've talked to has said that every tapas bar in Seattle that I've gone to isn't actually a tapas bar, and you need to go to Spain to get the real thing. So I took that challenge and I ran with it. Now, my husband being a lover of whiskey, we decided to just jump north a little bit and go up to Scotland. Obviously there's a bit of whiskey, so we were able to try a lot of single malts, which is the second part of this video. So what I would like to take you on first and foremost is a little trip through Spain, and then we'll walk you through our little whiskey tasting of Scotland, teach you a little bit about whiskey, how it's made, all that good stuff, a couple different distilleries in different areas, and then finally I will walk you through my signature recipe, and that signature recipe will be based on things that I had eaten while I was in San Sebastian. So first of all, just a little scenery, and we'll get this thing going. I'll be talking intermittently throughout this and kind of lacing this video together as best as I could. Hopefully it won't jump around too much, and I hope you enjoy it. What you are getting to see here are the tight little streets of San Sebastian. Now, these little corridors hold dozens of amazing tapas bars. As I said before, after all of the tapas, I'm going to take you through a little tour of Scotland. And finally, I will do a signature recipe. I will take you through a couple of steps, and it will be based on a delicious dish that I had in San Sebastian, which is what you see here. Here we are at La Boqueria Market in Spain. So I'm going to take us on a little tour, I guess I could say. This is one of the largest indoor markets and one of the oldest indoor markets in Barcelona. So come with me as I walk around and see what they have to offer. All right, let's just walk. Say hi.
Hi.
As you can see, this place has a lot to offer. We're going to keep going.
Okay. Hola.
And that is where we will end our tour of La Boqueria. Don't worry, there will be. San Sebastian is a city that is divided, and you can definitely see the difference between the parts. Here, you have the new. And then it's met with the old. As I said previously, these tiny little streets are lined with tapas bars. There are dozens of them, and they all have different specialties. So over the course of the next 3 little clips, we'll take you through a couple different styles of tapas bar. As you can see, the streets are lined with bars, many places to go and drink, and we'll give you a view a little bit later tonight where you can see all of the tapas in line. This is normal. Tiny little bar, lots of people trying to It's a tapas bar that specializes in mussels. I'm going to pop in here really quick because one of the things I did not realize when I was using a GoPro to film all of my videos is that if I have a certain little cover thing on, the sound doesn't record. So just a quick little note about this next video. You're going to see me talking. You're not going to hear anything. It's not your computer. It's me. My video skills are not the best. So what I'm trying to explain to you in this next little part is that the last tapas bar we decided to go to that evening was one that specialized in molecular gastronomy. Now, molecular gastronomy is a huge part of the Spanish cuisine. Ferran Adria, years and years ago, opened a restaurant called El Bulli and is considered the king of molecular gastronomy. He started combining scientific principles in food, seeing what he could do, what he could stretch and make, and he really brought this principle into the Spanish culture, and a lot of people really embrace it, specifically in the Basque region in the San Sebastian area. So this little bar is one of the many that does do molecular gastronomy. They have flambés and tarts and mousses. They use different airing things, gels, sprays. It's really pretty cool. So we did get to try a couple of fun things here, and hopefully that is displayed in the next little bit. So that is going to conclude our little tour of Spain, and we are going to move right along to Scotland. Now, first and foremost, what I want to talk to you about Scotland is that we did really focus on the whiskey there. Now, what I heard and read was that you're going to go to Scotland, food's not going to be very good, and I found that to be quite the opposite. So hopefully in a couple of my recipes, not exactly the final recipe you'll see on this, but a couple of the recipes that I will feature, you'll get little hints of Scotland, things that I found amazing throughout our trip. But just to explain, essentially what you're going to see is me tasting a lot of different scotches. Now, first we went over to Islay, which is one of the southern isles in Scotland. This isle is known particularly for its type of whiskey because the whiskey, how they make it, they take the peat from the ground, which is essentially a bunch of moss that's compacted over hundreds of years, and they smoke that, and they use that smoke to essentially almost cook the barley that they use to make the whiskey with. Now that lends a very, very, very pungent flavor to the scotch. This scotch is known for that pungent smokiness and peaty flavor that you get. It's really strong, it's brash, it's in your face. Now, the first 2 different distilleries that we go to are Islay distilleries. Now, both of these have that very brash, peaty, smoky, and that's not really my thing. I think one of these videos I do a little explaining that you might be able to hear, but essentially what I say is that I am much more of a Highlands person. So as I walk you around one of the last videos, which is at the McAllen Estate, that is a Highlands distillery, and that's one of the most well-known Highlands distillery in the world, actually. So you'll get to see that at the very end, but the first two things you will see me taste are both Isla, which are smoky, peaty, not for me, but definitely for my husband. And then the latter video that you will see is Highlands. It's nutty, it's rich, it's got those vanilla kind of notes in it, and that is something that is smooth and very easy drinking. So we'll give you that. I'll do a little talking, and hope you enjoy. Now, where we will start on the Isle of Islay is Port Ellen, this lovely tiny little town, and we will start at the Kilchoman Distillery. Now, unfortunately, what you cannot hear is that I am starting to talk a little bit about the distillery and about the three whiskeys that I am about to taste. Now, this first one I am going to taste does not have as much peat as the other two do. So you can kind of see that this may be my favorite of the three. But just wait for it. Watch my face, see what happens, because as I'm trying these, I wear my heart on my sleeve, what I think really will come out. Now, this next one that I tried was one of the Distiller's Reserve editions. This is one that you can't buy unless you're actually at the distillery. Now, this particular distillery is essentially very young in terms of single malt distilleries. A lot of the distilleries have been around for years and years, and we're talking hundreds of years. Kilchoman is relatively new, speaking as they've only been around for about 15 years. They are consistently winning awards though and getting their name out there, so hopefully you will be seeing this in the States pretty quickly. Now, as I try this last one, what you should know is the peat content of this last one is nearly 100%. That essentially means that every kind of part per million has a little bit of peat molecule to it. So it is flush with that flavor that I am not a fan of. Once we're done here, I will jump over to the Lagavulin Distillery, which is a little bit more my flavor, but still pretty peaty. Now, after Kilchoman, we moved on to Lagavulin, which is another one of the most famous distilleries in the world, close to Macallan in knowing, but a little bit smaller production. Now, this one I actually liked for an Islay. Pretty good, nutty, rich. They called it Christmas whiskey because it had kind of a nutmegginess to it. So you can see in my face I'm a little bit happier. Today we are at the Macallan Distillery. This is in the Highlands of Scotland. Now, Highland whiskey is very, very different from Islay whiskey, which is what you've seen me taste in the past. Today I have been very, very lucky to be able to try something that is amazing. So this is the Macallan. It is an estate reserve. This that you see right here in my hands, little taste in any bar or restaurant would probably cost you, what do you think, 30 bucks, 40 bucks for an ounce? Probably closer to 40 bucks an ounce. The entire bottle is worth 227 pounds, which roughly translates to like just over $350. And I get to try it. So we're going to take a couple whiffs, and then, oh, just to let you know, this house that you see in the background here, this has been standing on the Macallan estate for a very long time. They use this house as a depiction in all of their Macallan labels, distilleries, everything. And I'll show you. That is the Macallan label. That is the house. So hopefully you can see all that, and now you guys get to watch me taste some whiskey. So first nose, which tastes like caramel soaked raisins, smells like caramel soaked raisins. Good bit of a kick, pretty light, lots of caramel, lingers, love when it lingers, really smooth, like so smooth, like so smooth. That was good. I'm gonna go for another one. But just to let you guys know, I'll talk about one more thing really quick. So this glass that you see right here is pretty much only found in Scotland. They design it the same way that a snifter is designed. Essentially what you want to do with it is it collects the aroma in this kind of area right here. so that you're able to really get a good whiff before you taste it. Makes the aromas more like easy, right there in your face. It can be a little awkward. I'm used to my heavy bottom tumblers, but still delicious, and I am so. And that brings us to the end of Scotland. So now what I am going to do is take you into the kitchen and talk a little bit about my signature recipe that I made based on some of the tapas that I was able to enjoy in Spain. I hope that gave you a really good little kind of whiff of both Spain and Scotland, not exactly going in depth, but just enough to kind of skim the surface. So I hope you enjoy my recipe. Now, in the interest of time, I'm going to speed the process up a little bit because I know my video is already over 15 minutes. Sorry, guys. So right now what you see is I've put the orzo into the pan. This is the part where we kind of toast the orzo, similar to when you would make a rice risotto, but as I've mentioned. All right, so I'm on the very last stage. I've added all of my liquid, and then I added in my squash. Now that squash I added in, I had just recently roasted. What I might recommend and what the recipe will call for is that you pre-puree or use pre-pureed squash or pumpkin for this recipe. It's going to blend in much more nicely than the freshly roasted squash that I just did. But we are at our final stage, so I'm going to plate this up and do one more. So there you have it. That is the final recipe. Woo! Everything I did in Spain was incredible. Everything I did in Scotland was incredible. And hopefully the rest of my recipes will reflect that as well. But this signature dish, this lovely, lovely squash risotto, made Spanish style by using orzo instead of arborio rice as is typically seen in Italy, is going to be the best thing I've ever made. Well, that's a lie, but it's going to be really good. So I hope you enjoyed.